am going to see if I can share my screen. Host, you have disabled attendee screen sharing. You going to take care of that, Matt?
I haven't made you a co-host yet. There we go.
All right, it's going to work. Technology is scary and wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to minimize the little faces on the side of my screen so I can actually see what I'm going to be talking about. So I have been in this role for a little over 2 weeks now, and I'm hoping for much longer than that, but I have no desire to continue doing this for 32 years. And so I've been asked to speak to you about my perspective on the state of Buckhead, and that's what I intend to do. And as Matt said, I am happy to answer any questions that you have at the conclusion of this about anything at all that you'd like me to share my thoughts on. Let's just make sure we keep them to questions and not statements of opinions about certain things, or we'll be here forever. So I'm going to go down here and do what I think Matt should have done and click that arrow there. So for over 10 years now, when I have spoken about Buckhead, this has been the Buckhead that I've been talking about. The commercial district in the core of Buckhead. And what you see here, just to orient you, this is Piedmont Road coming from Midtown, the intersection with Peachtree, Georgia 400 over here, Lenox Square, and that should get you oriented. This Buckhead, it's 2.5 square miles, which is 1.2% of the land area that Atlanta is comprised of. In terms of the value of real estate, I know what the appraised value is of the commercial real estate that gets taxed to provide the CID dollars. That's $6.1 billion of appraised value, not assessed value, but appraised value. In this district, we've got 17% of the city of Atlanta's office space, which is 15.8 million square feet. We have 25% of the city of Atlanta's Class A office space, 16% of Atlanta's retail space, 12% of Atlanta's hospitality space, 11% of Atlanta's total property value, so that's commercial and residential within the CID, 12% of all of the jobs in the city of Atlanta, 49% of Atlanta's finance and insurance jobs. Multifamily housing within this district has increased 288% since the year 2000. And 20% of all the real estate that you see here has been built in the last decade. And in terms of retail sales, $1.1 billion estimated from last year. Now, I wanted to get some idea about how healthy this business district is in this age of COVID. And what I have learned is based upon just talking to folks at Highwoods and Cousins, and the two of those companies own more than half of the commercial office space within this community improvement district. And they are collecting rents today at 95%. So that indicates that the office market for the time being is very healthy. It also tells me that we've got high quality tenants in those buildings. And so I would say that the state of our office market in Buckhead for the time being is in very good shape. In terms of retail health, I asked this question of Robin Suggs, who may be on this call. I said, how's it going in your malls? And the reply I got was that the stimulus payments that have been made seem to be stimulating purchases within their tenant spaces. So people are spending money keeping that part of the economy going. And so I expect the same thing is true with many other retail establishments within the district. A few projects that are going on in terms of capital improvements in the public realm. The Phipps Boulevard and Wyuka Road interchange, we are going to be redoing that interchange and turning it into a multi-lane roundabout. The engineering is going to be completed with the final design third quarter of this year. Construction is scheduled to begin the second quarter of 2021, and a year later we should be completed with construction. And by the way, you can go to the Community Improvement District website, buckheadcid.com, to get more information about all these projects that I'm going to be sharing with you. Another big project is the widening of Piedmont Road and the improvement of that corridor from Peachtree to Lenox Roads. Engineering is going to be completed the second quarter of 2021. We are now in a phase of right-of-way negotiation for that project. Construction should start by the fourth quarter of next year and should be completed by the second quarter of 2023. That's our prognostication today. We will have 3 travel lanes in each direction with a center turn lane. We're going to improve pedestrian crossings, and we're going to greatly enhance the streetscape on the west side of Piedmont in front of what I've always called the Disco Kroger. Lenox Road Complete Street. This is something that we've been working on for a while. We're doing the engineering and final design of that right now. The image that you see here is a new boardwalk that we will be constructing between the Macy's parking lot and Lenox Road. So from this perspective, you're looking south from Peachtree down toward East Paces Ferry and the Lenox MARTA station. We'll be finished with the engineering at the end of this year. We'll be under construction the first quarter of next year, and it'll take a little over a year to get this done. We're really looking forward to having this improvement made, because this is, as you know, a major entrance into the district that we take care of. Peachtree. This is the project that the Community Improvement District really was created to address. I've often called Peachtree, before we got to work on it 20 years ago, a sewer for traffic. And I hope you all will agree that the improvements that we've made on Peachtree have vastly improved not only the aesthetic, but also the reliability of traffic flow. The third phase of that original project that we envisioned 15 years ago is about to happen. We have finished the engineering. Construction should begin the third quarter of this year and be completed fourth quarter of next year. And this phase goes from Maple to Shadow Lawn. We are underway with improving the streetscapes in what we call the West Village, Roswell Road, Andrews, and all the streets in the middle of those. Finished the engineering last year. We began construction earlier this year. It's underway right now, and we expect all the work to be completed by the end of this year. We're really pleased with the partnership that we have with the City of Atlanta and Georgia Department of Transportation. Both of those agencies and governments agreed to contribute to solving a major stormwater problem that's existed in that area for quite a while. And so we are addressing that at the same time we're improving the streetscapes in that area. Now, the Buckhead that I'm called upon to talk about increasingly more these days, and that's the greater Buckhead area and community. And the boundaries are on the east side, the city limits, and where we bump up against DeKalb County and the city of Brookhaven. On the north side, city limits with the boundary with Sandy Springs. On the west side, the Chattahoochee River. And on the southwest side, Peachtree Creek, over to I-75, down to the interchange with 85, and then up 85 to the DeKalb County line. So that's Greater Buckhead. 28 square miles instead of 2.5 that I've been taking care of for the past 11 years. 45 neighborhoods. Oh, and the 28 square miles is about 21% of the area that is the city of Atlanta. 45 neighborhoods. We estimate today about 100,000 nighttime population, which is about 20% of the city of Atlanta's population. And that comes from 52,000 households. 45% of Atlanta's ad valorem tax collections comes from this community of Buckhead. 23 million feet of office space. So you take what we have in the commercial core that the Community Improvement District is, and you add to that, say the office and commercial space around West Paces Ferry and Northside Parkway, and a few others, you come up with the 23 million feet. 9 million feet of retail, 26 hotels, including 8 luxuries, with 5.6 thousand keys or hotel rooms. So that's Greater Buckhead, and it's got so much more than that, but we have limited time, and I'll move on. Green space, this is something that I want you all to understand. This is of great importance, not only to livable Buckhead, from whom some of these slides are taken. Thank you, Denise. But also the Community Improvement District, and also the Buckhead Coalition. Green space is one of the things that really makes a community whole. And we learned 9 years ago or so that Buckhead was the least parked of all of the districts within the city of Atlanta per capita. And at the time, Howard Shook, I think you all know, came to Livable Buckhead, or maybe it was BATMA at the time, and the CID, and said, we really need to work on this. And so we all got to work on it, and this is basically the fruits of those labors. This, I can't overstate how important region-wide connectivity is, thinking about connectivity other than roads and bridges. And the multi-use trail connectivity that we're seeing grow throughout the region is going to be, I believe, when we look back on this 20, 30, 40 years from now, going to be one of the most important things that, that we paid attention to and invested in. And Path 400 is part of that. But also in Buckhead, we've got the North Fork Trail and the South Fork Trail that are going to be coming together with Path 400. And that will then connect to the Atlanta Beltline. And so this is sort of the grand central terminal of regional trail connectivity. And that's something that Buckhead can be really proud of, and is going to be a tremendous asset for us. And all of these come together a little bit south of the Lindbergh area there, where the MARTA train station and the headquarters is. Path 400 specifically, the next segment to open, and Denise is shaking her head right now, I imagine, and smiling, is going to be Miami Circle to Lenox Square, from the Gordon Bynum Bridge all the way down to Miami Circle. You know that we have, I hope you know that we have completed a good number of other segments. And when I say we, I mean really principally Livable Buckhead as the driving force behind it, but in partnership with the Community Improvement District and Path Foundation. That was the original partnership. And since then, we've generated a much larger group of partners. And I would say that this section should be open within 2 months. And if we can be really diligent at getting one of our partners to accelerate their traditional schedule, maybe within a month, but I'm not going to hold my breath. This is, in my opinion, the coolest section of the trail, and I'm really looking forward to it being open. Green space, this is just an example of energy and investment that's going into planning and implementing improvements for community green space. Mobility and accessibility is really important for Buckhead's health. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Denise Starling's organization, Livable Buckhead, one of the things that it is the Transportation Management Association for our part of the city of Atlanta. And they're charged with working with the employers and the employees within their geography to come up with commute options and get people out of automobiles as single occupants. And what you see on your screen are the impacts of their efforts. And that 19 million there is annual vehicle mile reduction by the partners that participate in the commute option program. So big impacts and a reduction in traffic. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, many of you probably heard that we were going to be shaking up and reinventing the Buck Shuttle that for years has provided last mile connectivity associated with the Lenox MARTA station and the Buckhead MARTA station. And we figured out a new way of doing it, a microtransit concept. And right when we were trying to, or planning to roll it out, COVID-19 hit us, and the demand for even getting outside of your home decreased, and we've had to put this one on hold. Not sure when we're going to roll it out, but we're going to be monitoring what we're hearing from the city of Atlanta, from the state of Georgia, from MARTA, and from employers, and also the behavior of the commuting public. That will determine when we're going to roll out this new concept. But I'm really excited about this, and this is something that Livable Buckhead and the Community Improvement District have been working on for years. Energy efficiency. We participated in the Atlanta Better Buildings Challenge, and Denise and her team at Livable Buckhead really led the way here in partnership with folks working with the city. 19 million square feet of commercial buildings signed on to this. We have 102 lead projects registered or certified in Buckhead, and a pretty aggressive EV charger program to get them distributed appropriately so that people have access for their electric vehicles. And then a healthy community needs to have events for the community to come together. And Livable Buckhead has been doing a great job of creating opportunities for the community to come together in large groups, in small groups, and really be community, get to know each other. And this is a really important aspect of what is keeping Buckhead a really healthy, great place to live and work. This is an image of Georgia 400 looking north, where you have Peachtree Road here and the Atlanta Financial Center here. And several years ago, the Community Improvement District decided that it wanted to explore the opportunity of adding a significant gathering place in the core of Buckhead, because we don't have one. And we ended up settling on the location of the Buckhead MARTA station right here. And as I'm sure most of you have heard, this is the idea that came out of that visioning. And it exists today as a conceptual plan, and I submit a fabulous idea. And from that work by the Community Improvement District, a nonprofit called the Hub 404 Conservancy was created. We branded this for the time being Hub 404 instead of what I called it from the outset, which was a descriptor of just the park over Georgia 400. I know that naming something is extremely important, And when the Conservancy was created as a nonprofit in order to address the private sector and its participation in this project, while the CID would remain the lead from the public sector side, because this will be a public-private partnership, we decided for the time being to name it Hub 404 to get away from the Georgia Route 400, and 404 being the original area code for all of Atlanta, in fact, all of Georgia. And hub meaning a central place where connections come to, both literal as well as figurative. And when COVID hit, I'm on the board of the Hub 404 Conservancy. We decided that we would put the nonprofit into hibernation. That's my word. During that period of time, the IRS granted us our 501c3 certification, so we got that. We were going to be having a big fund and fundraiser in April. Tony Conway was going to host that, and COVID put all that aside. So that nonprofit is in hibernation. The effort to pursue this is not on the back burner, but it's not on the front burner. And I'm hoping that as we get a handle on COVID and people start feeling more comfortable and confident with the prospects for the economy, then we'll get moving on this again and get to hard engineering and then fundraising to get it done. Safety and security. This has been top of mind for just about everybody that I speak with. And so I want to say a few things about that. And I want to thank Major Andrew Senzer for being with us on this. So I want to talk about three things. The May 29th protest that started in downtown Atlanta and ended up in Buckhead with the resultant property destruction. Want to talk a little bit about unruly and unlawful behavior that we've been witnessing, especially in the Community Improvement District. And I'll talk a little bit about the young men whom I've dubbed the Water Boys, that don't exist just in Buckhead. They are throughout the city, but I want to talk a little bit about what we've been experiencing in Buckhead. So May 29th and the morning of the 30th, that morning, staff members of the Buckhead Coalition, the Buckhead Community Improvement District, and Livable Buckhead, we all got out there early in the morning and began to assess the situation and began to help clean up. And one of the things I want to say about that is it was so heartening to be among the throngs of people who came out of their apartments or came out of their businesses or drove to Buckhead and went out on the streets and just started cleaning up without any direction or request. That is a real sign of a healthy community. The other thing I want to say about that event is subsequent to that event, all of our organizations, Business Association, the Coalition, the CID, and Livable Buckhead cooperated with the Atlanta Police Foundation and the Police Department to reach out to property owners throughout the corridors where destruction had taken place. And we asked the owners to please look at their video footage and connect with the Atlanta Police Department, and combining that work with what the police were able to gather from the cameras that are out in the public realm. Multiple arrests have been made, and we expect further arrests to be made associated with that particular event. I can't say enough about the quality of the folks at Zone 2, led by Major Senzer, and the support we've gotten from Dave Wilkinson at the Atlanta Police Foundation to help us think about ways to approach this. Unruly and unlawful behavior. What I mean by that is what many of us have been experiencing in the evening hours, the night hours, and the early morning hours, with people driving vehicles recklessly, loudly, people gathering in the outdoors, and bothering neighbors. And that's why I put this photo up here. And I want you to notice that this Atlanta police vehicle is co-branded with the Buckhead Community Improvement District. Early on, in the spring of this year, we decided, the CID decided, after consulting with the Police Foundation and the police department, that we would fund the purchase and outfitting of a new police vehicle, which you see right here. And this vehicle's home is the Zone 2 precinct. And this vehicle is being used. The supplemental patrol started 2 nights ago. It's being used by an off-duty Atlanta police officer who is earning income by patrolling in this vehicle to go to hotspots where people have been known to gather and where trouble has been reported, and to cover the area within the Community Improvement District. They are part of the Atlanta police force. They are connected to other police, and so they have the opportunity to communicate and ask for support. What they're not allowed to do is to leave the district to go to a 911 call outside of the district. And we're funding this 100%. We've committed to fund it through the end of this year. This supplemental patrol takes place 6:00 p.m. to 2:00 in the morning, Tuesday night through Sunday night. So we give them a break on Monday. And I have no data to give you about what happened last night or what happened the night before, but we're hopeful that this additional presence will help us address this unruly and unlawful behavior. Finally, the water boys. This has been, we've been seeing this for quite a while, where these young men get out in our major intersections, typically along our state routes, on Lenox Road, on Peachtree, on Piedmont, and they have purchased water from any establishment in Buckhead, but they have also put all that water in shopping carts and use those to transport the water to their intersections, where they then sell the water to people who drive by. And what has happened is, from this sort of simple, innocent attempt to earn some income in an entrepreneurial way, it has evolved into behavior that has become problematic. And so we collectively, the CID, the Buckhead Coalition, Livable Buckhead, the Atlanta Police Department, the Atlanta Police Foundation, are working together to address this. We need to deal with demand, and we need to deal with supply. And I'm pleased to let you know that in the past day, 2 arrests were made of juveniles, and this is something that we haven't seen up until just a day or so ago. So I believe that the city has heard that this is extremely important to us, and we would like to see it addressed. And I believe the police have been told that it is okay for you to go out and to, where appropriate, deal with this. This has been a very complex issue because these are juveniles who typically don't have enough points once they're taken to juvenile court for anything to be done other than for them to be babysat by the police or turned over to their parents, in which case a lot of times we can't find their parents. I say we, this is the Atlanta police. And so I'm hopeful that we are now on the way for really addressing this and cutting way back on the nuisance that this has created. And it's not just been a nuisance. There's been some really violent behavior associated with it. So I'm saying all this to let you know we're aware of all of this and we're working on all of this. And I am pleased with where I believe things are going here. Now let's talk about traffic. The CID was created to address traffic on Peachtree, but things have evolved so that we have a more complex issue with traffic. The star that you see on your screen there is to designate the employment core, the community improvement district area. And what we have seen over the past few years is that more and more traffic is crosstown traffic that is coming through the neighborhoods, generally to the northwest of the community improvement district. They're coming from the north of town, they're coming from Cobb County, and when they're doing that, there isn't, for many of them, a really good viable option for getting to work. And by that I mean good transit connectivity. We have no express buses that come into Buckhead. And the reason why is somewhat complex as well. But the way that we are addressing this, and by the we there, I mean the neighborhoods in Buckhead, livable Buckhead, the community improvement district, we are all working together to come up with a way to address what has become an almost unbearable situation where vehicles are either blocking driveways because the traffic is so stacked up, or they're racing through these neighborhood streets. I'm really pleased that the city of Atlanta adopted a 25-mile-per-hour citywide speed limit. Enforcement is going to be the key. The words that I've got on the left here, it's a two-pronged approach. We need to control how traffic flows through the neighborhoods and whether traffic flows through the neighborhoods. And we need to work really hard on commute options for these people. I'm pleased to let you know that, the CID and Livable Buckhead, we have put in an application to the ATL to explore express bus in a serious way for the Buckhead district, the community improvement district, the job center. And we will hear sometime later, and I'm not sure when. Denise, perhaps you can share with us what the timeline is on that, of whether or not we were successful. So safety, security, crime, traffic, we know those are issues that are important to you, and we're working on it. Now, to say something about the organizations coming together. The organizations that have come together are the Buckhead Coalition and the Buckhead Community Improvement District. Forever, for the length of time, for 20 years, BATMA and then Livable Buckhead and the Community Improvement District have officed together. In addition, the Buckhead Coalition has officed in the same building. So all three of us are in Tower Place right now. We are going to be bringing everybody together, and we will be co-locating in new space in the Tower Walk area, nominally above where the movie theater is. And you've got some images of the space that has been designed. This will be the future home of all four organizations. We are going to be building out that space later this year. And the timeline is for us to occupy this space, which is really going to be neat and a great place for people to come together once we can come together. With outdoor space and a gathering area, and you can see all of the attributes on the right there. Really important thing to say here is we couldn't do this without partnership and donations and of both time and talent and ideas and materials to help us achieve LEED, WELL, and FitWell certifications for our new office space. And so this will be our office space, knock wood, and I can, first quarter of next year. So that is literally, physically how we're coming together. And with that, I will finish up, and hopefully I've left time, because I have no idea what time it is, for us to talk. And I will stop sharing my screen and come back to you.
Jim, you did great. We have 15 minutes, so we have some time for some Q&A. If you have a question, as I mentioned, if you could, in the reaction box, put your hand up, and I will do my best to find you and let you ask your question. I did see one question from Rick Hamilton in the comment box as you were speaking. And Jim, it was related to the Water Boys conversation that you had. And Rick asked, could we come up with more appropriate activities for these water youth sales to channel their energy in a more appropriate way?
And my answer is, I'm sure we can. We just need to get the right people around the table to talk about it rather than think we've got a good idea and go try to force it. So I know that, in fact, one of our neighbors, Rebecca King, reached out to the Sheriff's Department to explore with them an idea that she has. And so absolutely that's what we need to do. But like I said, we need to get the right people around the table so that people agree, yes, and let's get the right support behind it to make it happen.
Can I just add that in the spirit of sort of the way we talk about things and the way we name things being important, that calling them young men, I think, is important in this context. I think Water Boys is not how you want to lead that conversation.
Diana, I appreciate that, and you are correct.
Jim, I have a question. It's Elizabeth.
Yes.
We heard a lot about all the great work that Livable Buckhead and Buckhead CID is doing, but we didn't hear anything about the coalition. What's happening and what changes will take place with the coalition?
Thank you, Elizabeth. We are actually in the middle of meetings where we are among the coalition membership talking about what our vision and our mission and our priorities should be going forward. And I can't get in front of that process to say what I think it's going to be, because I have to respect the wishes of the membership and the process. But I am confident that with the leadership that's being shown by Joe Evans, the current chairman of the Buckhead Coalition, by Dave Stockert, who chaired the succession committee and is going to be the chair-elect of the coalition, and with the others that have been working in a group of about 15 of the 100 members of the coalition, that we're going to be coming up with exactly who we need to be for today and tomorrow, and not just continuing to do what has been done for the past 32 years. So I would ask your indulgence to let us discover that through this process. But I hope that some of you saw a statement that Joe and I put together in a column for the supporter report, which talks about our desire to be an integral part of the city of Atlanta and to develop a good relationship with the city of Atlanta so that we can get, and everybody can get, the services that they deserve, that they have invested their taxes in, and that we receive a return on that investment. And we want to do that in a very constructive, productive, and effective way.
Mary, I believe you had a question as well. Did you? Hold on one second. You need to unmute yourself. There you go.
What I just wanted to say about the young men selling water, we understood from a recent meeting that they make in excess of $100 a day. What we need to be very thoughtful about is, all the way back to Maynard Jackson, he had a robust summer program where young people were able to make money. So we need to be thoughtful as we come up with the right solution, that we are mindful of the fact that it is not just going to a park and playing basketball. It is coming up with a way that this is the equivalent to them of being able to earn an allowance, a very healthy allowance. And so we need to have that front and center as we come up with a win-win solution.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on that, and I just posted that to the chat area, that if you look at a lot of very successful entrepreneurs, they actually started in youth by filling a need. And whether it's in school, they're selling candy that they're not allowed to sell, but they go in and they buy a bag of candy for $5 and sell each peach for 50 cents. So while it's kind of that balance, I don't want anyone running in front of my car. I don't want anyone trying to run in front of my car. That's dangerous and it makes me nervous. But at the same time, I want to be careful that we respect and not discourage people from that entrepreneurship. I think that's really important, whatever solution we come up with, because these are our future leaders. And again, look at Shark Tank, if you ever watch that show. My husband loves that show. But you look there and you see the people who started with those paper routes and who started doing things on their own to generate income. And they're very successful today as a result of those skills that they learned when they were younger, and starting those really small businesses.
I would just respond to all this to say we also need to keep in mind that we are working on this in an environment of a terrible virus, and in an environment where people are waking up to the reality that institutional racism has affected millions and millions of people, and we need to do something about that. And so there is absolutely a delicate balance to walk, to be effective, to be helpful to these young men, but also to respect the folks that are being adversely impacted when the behavior becomes dangerous. And so this is, it's complex, but it's absolutely something that we need to be working on diligently.
We have a question in the chat box from Russ Hall, and Russ asked, what is the pivot for public transportation given the work from home thrust combined with the viral risk associated with public transportation?
Boy, Marta hat. It is a puzzlement, as they said. Trying to do everything that we can to assure riders that it's safe to do it, while respecting people's individual rights, however they wish to express them, to wear masks or not. Marta has been doing yeoman's work to make sure that their property, every bit of their property, whether it's physical buildings or buses or the mobility vans or the trains, are as clean as they possibly can be, encouraging the use of masks. We even tried to mandate it and got pushback on that. And I think that what we're talking about is human behavior, and human behavior, you're only going to be able to move people to get back to where they were if they can be assured that they are going to be safe and that it's not a risky proposition. So that's what we are trying to do, is to make sure that it's not a risky proposition. And the other thing is we're trying to stay afloat and continuing to operate and having the resources to be able to put out the service. Keep in mind, the bus service that we've been running since the beginning of all of this mess, we've not been collecting fares. So that revenue is gone. But it's something that the board and senior staff are working on every day, and that transit agencies are working on around the world. So that's my answer right now.
Did anyone else have a question that they wanted to ask for Jim?
Julie Bailey has a raised hand.
Julie Bailey has a raised hand.
I do. Yes, thank you, Jim and Matt. Jim, I know the Buckhead Business Association recently signed on to supporting the Buckhead community remaining a part of the city of Atlanta, as we have always supported that particular position. Can you comment on that and why it is important for Buckhead to remain a part of the city of Atlanta?
Well, sure. So you saw in my remarks that in our 20% of the city of Atlanta, we account for 45% of the ad valorem taxes for the city of Atlanta. We need Atlanta to be healthy. We all want the capital city of the state of Georgia to be a healthy city, to be complete, to be vibrant, to have all of the amenities that we want wherever we live within the city. And if Buckhead were to somehow be able to become a city, and I have questions about whether or not it can, I know that the process, I know it could, but the process is extremely complicated and arduous and involves the Georgia legislature. You pull Buckhead out of the city of Atlanta, and it's a very different city. And you would end up in Buckhead paying probably more than you do today, because you'd need to be renting things, leasing things from Fulton County and the city of Atlanta. And you know, who knows how long it would take for you to get your services up and operating. I just believe with all my heart that you're much better off building trust and using those trusting relationships to identify and acknowledge real problems and concerns, and then coming up with a way to address those concerns. That's the best way to do anything, rather than saying, I'm taking my toys and I'm going home. No, that's not the way to do it. So my hope is that the Buckhead Coalition 2.0 is going to be able to play an effective role at communicating the legitimate concerns having to do mostly with crime, traffic, and the lack of, or the perceived lack or real lack of delivery of municipal services that their tax dollars should have paid for. So that's what we need to work on, rather than balkanizing.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. I'm looking to see if I have any more in the comments. Don't see anything there. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask? Michael, is that your hand up to ask a question? No, it's a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. Is anyone else? I'm trying to scroll through. Give me 1 second.
Hey, Matt.
Ray has his hand.
Can I ask about Sidney Marcus Boulevard? I know it's a very parochial thing in my neighborhood, but the state should be ashamed of itself. And I have asked in times past that we somehow try to exert some pressure on the state to trim the trees, mow the grass, and not make it look like we're in a third world country. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Russ, did you have a question? I thought I heard Diane Bojina say you had your hand up. Doesn't look like it. Okay.
Wasn't a question. I've been sort of in a dialogue with Diane and with the group about the BBA being a resource around this young men or young women question about helping them get their start in business without having a problem with it. Everybody in the BBA is a small business person, or a lot of us are, and we represent a resource that properly channeled could address not only the issue immediately of this young men with water thing, but what Jim just talked about addressing longer term issues about blending Buckhead in with the rest of Atlanta and issues around helping people positively focus their energies. That's what I was doing kind of in the chat room and hoping it would come up as a topic. And Diane, thanks for your comments in the chat because it's creating clarity.
Matt, we had a question in the chat room also, if it might be possible to download or to provide the slides from Jim. So Jim, if that would be possible to provide the key points of the slides to the group.
I will figure out how to do that. It's a very large file, and someone's going to have to help me. But I do know that this was recorded, and you know, Matt, maybe what we can do is we can make it available.
And I will see what I can do about that. How about that? We'll both commit to seeing what we can do to get those out.
All
Jim,
right.
I'll make the general offer. We might come up with a way to shorten or simplify the presentation and make it more appropriate where it could be easily distributed amongst the people of Buckhead and the people who are interested in Buckhead, as we always do. If you live here, you work here, you love it here, you can't just play here. You need to know what the story is. You need to know the talking points. That's what the BBA is here for.
Thank you, Michael. Is Marcia Jaffe on with us? I know that at one point she was having some connectivity issues.
There she is.
Marcia, you here?
Marcia, unmute yourself.
How about now?
Hold down your.
Okay, Marcia, here you go.
All right, I'm going to go fast because Jim was so important and my head is full with all this great energy that we really needed. So that's good. All right, Jamestown, talking about a place to hang out. After all this with Buckhead, Atlanta, or Shops of Buckhead, or whatever it's been called, has announced their new name, which is the Buckhead Village District. District is an N word these days. It's 9 acres of slick rebranding. It'll be bright green and aqua turquoise signs, reimagined as a village where you can spend the day. I hope you've got better things to do to spend the day. But it's going to be more affordable, and they're going to have a bookstore and a veranda, covered patio, couches, a grand faux fireplace, and emphasis on al fresco, being outside, modern, and southern. Buckhead Butcher Shop went into the old Karma, which was a great little restaurant on Far Road, but he took a great advantage of the pandemic. He was a wholesale meat company, and now he's going direct to consumer. His name is Connor Boney. If you ever want to be in the meat business, Boney is a good last name to have. Chastain Park, Julie and I have a lot of discussions back about should it be a golf course or should we be able to walk and have it as a park like Central Park. They're trying a 2-month test where walkers and cyclers on Tuesdays, I think, can have some time. Maybe it's 9 to 3 or something like that where we can walk and cycle. Advertising company is negotiating with locals on taking the standard billboard, which has been there many years atop the Village Vets at Northside Parkway and West Paces Fair. It's a liquor store right there also. Anyway, they're talking about making a huge double-sided billboard that can be seen on I-75. So that'll be kind of an eyesore maybe. Or maybe something like Times Square in New York where you see all that stuff going around and around advertising. Bed Bath & Beyond is being sued not by all, but some of their landlords for non-payment of rent. Their sales are down 50%. They're closing 200 stores. Remember, folks have said this pandemic was a catalyst and did not cause all this because Bed Bath & Beyond has been teetering for a good while. It's certainly not good news. Walgreens is adding 700 primary care clinics, doctor-led. That's good because we wouldn't want it to be veterinarian-led. For social workers, therapists, and to keep the chronically ill out of the emergency room. Candy maker Furore will use Atlanta as a base to rebrand their classics, Baby Ruth, Butterfinger, and Crunch. Who grew up eating Baby Ruths? I did. I don't eat candy bars now, but you know, during a depression, I'm not saying we're in one, but the 3 things that last are liquor, candy, and movies. Now, movies didn't make it through the pandemic, but AMC is starting to open back up, they say. A new frame shop, Frame Bridge, out of Washington, D.C. will open next to Flower Child in the shops of Lenox there. They started as a digital company in 2014, and this is interesting because it's the opposite. It's now turning retail. It used to be retail went digital. They hope to have locally sourced frames that represent the neighborhood, so that will be interesting. You can buy a frame that perhaps was created in Buckhead. Their CEO was picked as CEO of the year by the Washington Business Journal, by the way. Announcement, former Houston's across from Lenox Square will be redeveloped as a high-rise. They paid $6.25 million. It was Matt Schulman Ardent, who owns a lot of Peachtree Center. They say he stole it. They were negotiating with the Ritz residences before and listed it as $12 million, so he got it at $6. So we'll see how that turns out. Seelig in Midtown has announced a partnership with Rockefeller, the folks that developed Rockefeller Center in Manhattan, to plan a mixed use. It's some part of it's already, the residential's already underway. There'll now be a hotel and all that. So that should be exciting, and also confidence in our economy. We in Buckhead are familiar with AMLI, AMLI, because of their apartments, but they're planning a mixed use in Brookhaven in this old Cox Enterprise building on Lake Hearn. It's because of its proximity to 2A5, and they will have a park and a trail. I think all these new developments built now are going to have parks. That's important. Piedmont Health Care paid a $16 million penalty back to Medicare and Medicaid for overbilling. You can make of that what you want. New homes in Tuxedo Park, walkable to Chastain, just sold for $6 million. And also, Landmark CEO Wes Rogers bought a 4-acre estate near Chastain, not near Chastain, 1926 built at 1145 West Paces Ferry. By the way, that Tuxedo Park neighborhood, I think, has got Kelly Loeffler and I think Sarah Blakely. I might be wrong on the Sarah Blakely part. Malls are in and out. Who knows? Cumberland Mall has announced an upscale renovation. You know, they're opening Dick's Sporting Goods, hiring 100 people, but the new Cumberland Mall is going to be a 17-acre modern town center like North Point Mall. The Hyatt, Jim mentioned some new hotels, is branding their Thomas Hotel on East Paces Ferry in the old Bank and Trust building. Was that State Bank and Trust? Was that Marvin Cosgrave's originally? I don't know why I'm asking questions, because nobody here can answer me, but that's what I think that place is. But anyway, it's supposed to be it's an $80 million venture. The ACVB made an obvious statement. It said the convention business is shuttered for the rest of the year. They're now coming up with new ideas to win back tourists for the next year. A Buckhead-based Spanx will have a wall, living wall on Ponce de Leon that will lift, or intended to lift, the human spirit by the Spanx Foundation. It will feature hope and positivity, featuring helping hands and bright colors, and celebrate so that people can feel better during the pandemic. Finally, last but not least, if you're ever thinking about leaving Buckhead, you can move to Alpharetta, because after 12 years, they now got the zoning pass where you can have live chickens in your yard. You can't have a rooster, but you can have chickens. So that's the report. Thank you for letting me go into the end. I apologize for my technical difficulties in senior living on the front end.
Thank you, Marcia. We very much appreciate your report. We have 2 quick announcements and we'll adjourn. Next week, we have Joe Kaufman, who's the founder and CEO of Setup. He's going to be speaking to us. And then to end the month, on the 30th, I believe it is, we have Juanita Barranco and Lolita Jackson, and they're going to talk about Black leadership in Buckhead. So I hope you can join us for those 2 presentations as well. With that, we're adjourned and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you all.